Obviously, there was a horrific landslide event that took place in Texas weekend, and it looks like there's plenty of blame to go around. I believe there's as many as 90 people that have perished in this.
It's a flash flood. And what freaks me out about it is it's the Guadalupe, and the Guadalupe River is the river that my law school class, we would go as like a group and go tubing after finals. And this is that river. So I'm very familiar with this area and where this isn't. This is devastating. I mean, there were kids at a camp that were like washed away. And, a lot of this is stuff that, while maybe can't be prevented, could be helped better, could be prepared for better. And I don't know in this case, apparently their warning system did actually work, but it just happened so fast. So I don't know enough about it. Hence why it would be good to speak to someone who really understands how those things work. But, this has been going on since Trump's first administration and the cuts that they made. But the recent change in staffing to that particular department, what is NOAA? It's NOAA. I forget what it stands for. National Oceanic Atmospheric. I don't know.
Well, someone will probably know the answer.
I know, but that the funding that has been cut and has reduced people in locations, and one said location is their office in San Antonio. And I lived in San Antonio for 6 years. And so that is sort of the closest city to this region where this is happening. And they cut, apparently just recently, like 2 positions have been cut, or they're down to only a couple of people in the office. And it's just, yeah. So there's a very big link between how we're addressing things, not necessarily even the climate itself, but our response to it and how we compensate and repair people that have to go through this. That's the problem.
Here is I guess this would be somewhat of a sped up version of what actually took place. Is it Llano or Llano River?
What?
How do you say it?
The flood was the Guadalupe.
The Guadalupe. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if this is the right video, that's the river. Yeah. Yeah. That's how fast yeah. Now this is sped up, but you can tell by the people that are walking backwards on the road that it's happening fast enough that they're getting out of the way and leaving. So you can see that it's happening at a speed that they were just not prepared for.
Now, the question I would have is, where does climate change factor in to something like this? Because obviously people are going to say, well, it's not really true. The climate is not really changing, or if it is.
No, it is. I'm going to explain what I just recently heard from this man that I want to invite to come on. So it has a lot to do with drought and then rain. So what happens after a long period of drought? Again, I am not the science person in this, but after a long period of drought, the soil, the dirt, the ground in this region becomes almost like solid. Like it doesn't, and again, I'm not the geologist. And so then when it finally does rain, it's like sliding down concrete. It doesn't absorb into the ground because it had gotten so dry. So there is a reason why it's happening, not why maybe it's dry for a bit and it rains for a bit, but the excessive nature that's basically redesigning the ground in a way that this does happen, right? Like it's just, we definitely are having an impact on this. And then I've also said it before, the complete lack of any initiative or looking into relocating people to higher ground. Now, again, this is something that takes years to do. I know they're doing it in China, but we need to be providing incentives and reparations for people that are in places that are prone to this, and have them not be there for, this is something that takes years. I'm not suggesting you round people up right now and move them, but yeah, these are in places where that we now know is going to happen. And most people can't afford to just leave. So, that's the kind of thing where you need like subsidies to come in so that people can afford to relocate from areas that are prone to this. And yet you're going to have people that don't want to leave. They want to be riverfront. And look, I don't suggest forcing people to leave, but the people that then choose to stay, I think should have to pay excessively more in cost for emergency services. Should not have to be borne by everyone else who was willing to relocate. And again, I'm talking over a course of years. This is something China is actually doing in some of their regions. But yeah, this is going to it's only going to get worse. And yes, it does have something to do with us.
Now, I'm not trying to single out Hugh McDonald, but we are going to have people as our channel grows that are going to say things like it's weather modification, it's chemtrail.
But let's say it is. Let's go with that for a second, which I'm not completely averse to the concept. But let's say it is weather modification. We do know that they're doing stuff to the weather. Sure. We know that they're doing that. We could see chemtrails and all sorts of crap that they're pumping into the sky to try to create different environment. We get that. But let's say hypothetically that is this. We still need to be moving people out of the way of areas where this is going to happen. So whether it's literally man-made to that extent where it's modified weather, or it's just this is what's happening from generations of how we've been treating the planet, either way, people that are in flood-prone areas, we need to be looking towards better solutions. Long-term solutions. That's what I'm suggesting.
We also have to take into consideration that there is an interest in the powers that be that do want to have some form of population control. And perhaps this is one of the ways that they feel that they can do it. Now, I do think that there's a limit to what weather modification can do if you're going to have a flash flood of this magnitude that is going to result from, as you mentioned, the juxtaposition between very dry, drought-like conditions to very wet, very mudslide, if you will, landslide-like conditions. And this is where things just get completely out of control. And of course, there's only going to be seemingly two paths forward when it comes to this dynamic between the two political factions.
Thank you, Mary Beth Rockwell. That's NOAA. That's what it stands for. Anywho.
So what I was saying is you have those that are just like, thoughts and prayers, and then the other side who thinks that the world is coming to an end. You don't have this sort of meeting of the minds. And I also think it's important to note that one of the other aspects of this, aside from the fact that it was tragic and a lot of people obviously have been killed, but maybe more than anything else, the Trump administration evidently fired people that were working in the weather service, that this was for the form of cuts that they had employed. And as a result, it ultimately took away from certain people working within the organization, whether it's NOAA, et cetera.
Well, right. And I don't know if we will ever directly find a parallel between that missing personnel and this particular response, right? Like there's too many variables, but we're definitely not prioritizing what needs to be prioritized in terms of the best interest of people. That's my observation. Even if I can't draw the direct line between those cuts to the budget and the response to this disaster, it's just not a good look.
No, it's not a good look. But then you also have stories like this, which I think kind of crystallize it more from Yahoo. We now know that there is, unfortunately, a lot of Texas officials that are not happy with Trump. And what they're saying is Texas officials slammed Trump's National Weather Service for botched forecast. Yeah, that's pretty much his disposition. That's a really terrible thing that happened there.
And that very well could be true. But even if it's not, I don't think it's one of those things that comes down to just him. I think this is one of those things that comes down to priorities over several administrations.
Oh,
It doesn't happen overnight like that. The
I
storm appears to, but the problems with prediction and all of that comes from lots of like leads up to it.
Well, Yahoo tends to be conservative, so I'm not going to assume that this is like some liberal rag commentary here, but NWS was among the government agencies, National Weather Service, among the government agencies targeted by DOGE in its effort to gut the federal bureaucracy, losing approximately 600 staffers. After the cuts, the agency, which was already understaffed, began to prepare to offer degraded forecasting services, facing severe shortages of meteorologists, according to an internal document obtained by the New York Times all the way back in April. The original forecast that we received Wednesday from the NWS predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches in the Hill Country. And the amount of rain that fell at this specific location was never in any of those forecasts. Sudden thunderstorms dumped more than 10 inches of rain in the area, causing heavy flooding from the Guadalupe River, hence where this breakage had come from. Dalton Rice, the city manager of Kerrville, Texas, who also spoke at the press conference, said that the catastrophic flash flooding happened because the skis dumped more rain than was forecast on 2 of the river's forks. And then it goes on to talk about how many people were actually killed as a result of this. Right now, estimates are a minimum of 70.
No, it's more. The last time I heard an official, it was over 80.
Yeah, I heard something close to 90.
And I don't know what that is in terms of who's still missing. No, this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare.
Part of the reason that this is a nightmare that I really want people to understand, and Wendy Gofton, thank you, count is currently sitting at 82, where there is also a lot of people still missing. Here's the bigger problem, whether you believe that the issue is climate change, government, gutting of government services for austerity purposes, et cetera.
Jewish space lasers.
That's a problem, Jen. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm just saying, whatever the reason is, like the reason is, yeah.
Here's the indisputable truth about why something like this happens. Our country is so far behind in terms of infrastructure, in terms of competing with other nations for safety protocols, for advancements in travel, emergency situations. If people need to get out of places like Hill Country, which are very low level hanging areas, it's not easy to get out of certain places if, God forbid, something like this ends up happening. And so as a result, this is not necessarily something to expect, but it's something that if it does happen, you're just ill prepared to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's no different than any of the defunding that we see for crucial services and basic services that should just be things that we have. So this is just one more of that, where we're just defunding things that are important for us, not for shareholders. And that's how this goes. This is devastating. And I think about these people that had their little girls at this sleepaway camp. This is horrible.
Yeah.
This is just horrible. I'm sad. There were campsites, like campgrounds, that were washed away with people in their campers. I mean, it's really bad.